The college season has just begun for basketball, and it's already time to start spitting out mock drafts, thinking who's going to get the first overall pick, who's going to get the second overall pick, and who's going to go where. Now, this is a very big man heavy class. We have Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren at the top, alongside guys like Jalen Duren and Jabari Smith. And with the worst record currently in the NBA as of this recording, we're going to start off with the Houston Rockets to decide who do they want to take. Now, they have their guards basically set. Of course, John Wall, I have no idea what's going on with him. I figured they would have bought him out by now. I think they're still looking for a trade partner, and I think nobody wants to trade for John Wall, as depressing as that is for John Wall fans. But they have their guards of the future. They have Jalen Green, stud. He's having a not a great first season, but he's a rookie, and we expect nothing but the highest of potential for him. Kevin Porter Jr. is their starting point guard. He's not ideal. It's not the best situation, but if you were to focus on what the Houston Rockets need, it's either a wing player or a big. And because of the way this draft has fallen out, the big looks like it's going to be the way to go. Now, the question, of course, on everybody's mind is, who do you like more, Paolo Banchero or Chet Holmgren? And I got to say, I've watched a little bit of both of their games so far. I'm a Paolo guy. I can't buy into Chet Holmgren. He's 7 feet tall and like 102 pounds. He's just bone skinny. I don't expect him to get that much bigger. He's going to be like a Kristaps Porzingis kind of guy. And while I do think he has the capacity to be a 5, he's too little. And most of the time you don't say that because nobody really plays with their back to the basket, but he's so scrawny. I expect him to fill that Alexei Pokusevski at the 3, Kristaps Porzingis at the 4 kind of role. I don't ever expect him to be big enough to be a 5, try to bang, go for rebounds. So the majority of his great plays right now in college just comes from being taller than everybody else, and he has some capacity to shoot the ball well. I just haven't been very impressed, whereas Paolo Banchero, he wasn't like titillating, impressive, oh my God, this guy's going to be the best thing ever, but he was very good from the tape that I've seen so far. So I believe with the Rockets roster as presently constructed, they take Paolo Banchero. He can play the 4, he can play the 5, he can be a big 3 if you really need him to. Hopefully not, though. It looks like it's going to be a good fit, and maybe you can have a nice center power forward duo with Alper and Şengün. Both kind of the same height. Actually, Şengün is like 6'8". So I think the Rockets at number 1 overall should take Paolo Banchero. Number 2 overall to the Pelicans, who's just, what a season they're having. Let's see. They brought in what's his face, right? Jonas Valanciunas. And I don't think he's re-signed yet. He's a free agent after this season. They have Zion. They have Brandon Ingram, and then they're missing a point guard because they got rid of Lonzo Ball. Devontae Graham is a perfectly fine starting-ish point guard. He's really better off the bench, not really much of a distributor, but he's a good scorer. So their roster kind of needs those 2 big positions, center or point guard. Jackson Hayes is a great backup center. Jonas Valanciunas, who knows what they're going to do. Zion can move down to play the 3 if necessary, but you'd like somebody who could stretch out the floor. I think this would be one of those interesting spots if the roster or if the lottery actually breaks down as is. I just don't expect the Pelicans to be in this spot. So for now, I guess Chet Holmgren is the next best player off the board. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Not really. Is this going to happen in real life unless the Pelicans magically keep losing? Zion gets hurt again because he's like 360 pounds. Probably not, but let's just go ahead and say Chet Holmgren second, regardless of who's there. They'll figure out what they're going to do at that center position. Moving on to the number 3 spot with the Orlando Magic, perennial taking top the lottery picks and not really doing a lot with them. I like Cole Anthony. He's a very good player. He's not a ball distributing point guard. He's one of those undersized shooting guards, kind of CJ McCollum-ish, but he's a good player. I like him. Wendell Carter Jr. has been a valiant starting center. Mo Bamba has even shown signs of talent that we haven't seen for like 4 years. Jonathan Isaac still needs to come back from injury. Markelle Fultz still needs to come back. Franz Wagner hasn't been as bad as I expected him to be. Jalen Suggs hasn't really been impressive, though. Kind of a guy without a position. Is he a 2? Is he a 1? He's been... the rookies haven't been all that impressive this year outside of Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley, much to my chagrin. In hypothetical world, they have every position set. They have a point guard, they have a shooting guard, they have a small forward, they have a power forward, they have 2 centers. They could be set, but of course you're picking at, where are we? Number 3 overall? It's really best player available. So who do you think is the best player available? Everyone has their own thoughts. Jaden Ivy, Jaden Hardy, Jabari Smith. You could go with a big and Jalen Duren. Now, I would say in the old school NBA, Jalen Duren should go number 3 overall. He's probably the best player available at the position. But this isn't the old school NBA. This is the shoot the 3-pointer. This is we don't need big men anymore. They call it the year of the big man, but the big men who won was Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. Joel Embiid can shoot the 3, one of the most dominant centers, one of the most dominant players in the game. Nikola Jokic, not quite your traditional big man. The dude runs the point guard for the freaking Nuggets. So Jalen Duren isn't at that level of either elite talent as a big or uniquity to the position to where he can do anything you need. So I think he's going to be falling a bit. As for the other players, they could get another guard. There's no shortage of guards in the Magic roster. Who do we have here? We have Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, RJ Hampton. I mean... Terrence Ross is bumped up to the 3. Franz Wagner is there. There's no shortage of guards. They just really need to pick the best player available. So I would say they should take Mr. G League, Jaden Hardy. All right, Jaden Hardy. He's a G League, not Jaden Ivy. Jaden Ivy and Jaden Hardy. God, that's going to be so freaking confusing. Actually, you know what? I like Jaden Ivy out of Purdue a little better than Jaden Hardy. They're about very similar kind of players. 6'4", 6'5" guards doing their thing. Jaden, God, I got these guys confused. Jaden Ivy reeks of Ja Morant as far as athletic gifts. Even though he's a sophomore, most of the time you don't see sophomores getting drafted in the top 3, top 5. But the dude has been a freak athlete. He's been a very solid, decent scorer for Purdue. He's their only good player. And I think he's going to be able to slash. He's going to be able to spread the floor. He's going to do everything you want from a 2 guard. Jaden Hardy reminds me a little bit more of Buddy Hield. He's more just of a shooting. Anytime he catches the ball's going to go up, and he's got a pretty decent shot at making it. He's a good shooter, mind you, but he's just not that elite talent. He's a good player all around, where I think Jaden Ivey still has that potential to be a top 10 player in the NBA. So I'm going to say best player available for the Magic, taking Jaden Ivey out of Purdue. Is that the right name? Not Jaden Hardy. God. So number 4 overall, the Spurs, who, they're just struggling at this point in their season, career, whatever. Dejounte Murray's been playing great. Got to give him that. Keldon Johnson's been about so-so, but he is a gold medal winner. What the fuck is a winner? He's a high-energy guy. He's going to give you as much effort as you can have, and then the rest of the roster is... It's tough. It's just a whole bunch of role players. It's a bunch of guys who are good, not great, starting with Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, Thad Young, Derek White, Jakob Poeltl. I mean, the guys are good. There's not like negative things you could say about these players other than Josh Primo. But they need to go highest potential player available at this position. So while I do think, once again, Jalen Duren is saying, take me. I think Jabari Smith out of Auburn is the option here. The dude is just a lot of talent. He's dripping. He's oozing. He's kind of in a positionless spot because he plays the legit 4 spot, the power forward, and that's been completely removed from today's NBA. I think he's going to fit alongside pretty well. He's decent at 3-point shooting right now. Obviously, room for improvement, so he can spread the floor a little bit. He's good defense, good energy. I think you move Keldon Johnson to the 3. I think you move Devin Vassell to the 2. You have an incredible bench of like Lonnie Walker and Josh Primo and Derek White. Obviously, Dejounte Murray at the 1. And I have no problem with Jakob Poeltl being the center. The dude blocks like any shot that comes within his vicinity. He's not going to stretch the floor, so at times you can move Jabari to the 5. Whatever you want to do. Jabari Smith should be the next pick at number 4. Number 5 overall on the Detroit Pistons. Once again, best player available. Cade Cunningham hasn't been like the greatest thing ever, but he's been very solid for them. Let's look at their roster. Of course, Corey Joseph is here. Saban Lee, killing it in the G League. Hasn't really had much time in the bigs. Killian Hayes, at this point, I think he's a bust. Former number 7 overall pick, just hasn't panned out. And they brought in Cade Cunningham to take over the role of primary ball handler. He's been very solid, not exceptional, but that's not the kind of player he is. He's a good all-around player with no weaknesses instead of a guy who's elite at one thing. They have not a lot else. Sadiq Bey, he's a catch and shoot guy. Frank Jackson, Hami Diallo, Josh Jackson, Jeremy Grant, you know, he's going to give you whatever he needs to. And of course, Isaiah Stewart's going to knock your ass out. Luka Garza, the walking meme. This team, once again, just best player available. I would give them Jaden Hardy at this point and just say, Killian Hayes, you got to go. Saban Lee, you can be a backup point guard for me. No problem. Killian Hayes, we're going to flip you for, you know, some future prospect maybe. Sadiq Bey plays a 3. Jeremy Grant at the 4. And Jaden move Cade Cunningham down to the 1. Jaden Hardy at the 2. I think it's going to be a nice matchup. He's basically what I said before. Buddy Hield, Bradley Beal. The second he gets the ball, he's going to shoot it, but he's a good shooter, so you don't want to coach that out of him. Going to number 6 with the Sacramento Kings, and the Kings are just a freaking mess. They got rid of their head coach finally. They got rid of. They still have Buddy Hield, but he's coming off the bench because they decided to draft 3 point guards. De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, and Tyrese Halliburton, who's kind of an in-between, but he's still a point guard-ish. The rest of the roster can leave you wanting. Buddy Hield is a good player, just not really does anything exceptional. Harrison Barnes, he's turned himself into a very good player, but he's still not that next tier. Marvin Bagley's just been a disaster on the court, off the court, whatever. Richaun Holmes, Mr. Push Shot himself, can make anything within 10 feet from the hoop. Tristan Thompson, Alex Len, I mean, they have a weirdly competitive roster, but they're lacking that top-end talent. De'Aaron Fox hasn't taken that next step yet. Davion Mitchell's been great as a rookie, but he's had his limitations. He's already 23. He's only 6 foot tall. Tyrese Halliburton hasn't quite taken that next step, but he's played very valiantly, very well at this point. And, of course, he took that starting spot from Buddy Hield. So, at this point, I would consider taking Jalen Duren for the Kings. They have a whole bunch of talent. They need to figure out what they're doing. And of course, I don't want them to take any guards. So do you want to take the best wing player that's left, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Kendall Brown? I'm not sold on Ty Washington. I just wasn't very impressed with what he gave you. And of course, he's another guard. Nikola Jovic, Roko Perkasin. I think Jalen Duren at this point is going to be the best player to take. Again, if this was the old school NBA, he'd probably be a top 3 player, but this is just the way the 2021 NBA. Richaun Holmes, no problem with you. You're a fine, average starting center, but I think we have the possibility to improve with Jalen Duren, so we take that player with the Kings pick. Of course, taking his center, the Kings, just disaster no matter what happens. Now on to the Thunder, who... I mean, they're another team. They have too much talent, not enough time to figure out who's good. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is good. Josh Giddey has been surprising me. I thought he was going to fall to 12. I thought his talent was there-ish, and he's been playing very well. Teo Maledon, not too bad. Trey Mann, Lou Dort's been killing it, and then Alexei Pokusevski's here. He's kind of regressed a little bit. Darius Bazley still can't shoot the 3, and they're missing a true center. Jalen Duren would have been great to go here, but he's not. So you're just going to have to once again take best player available. So now who do you think is the best player available? Patrick Baldwin, Caleb Houston, Max Christie. And I'm kind of in on Roko Perkasin. Oh man, he's not in this roster at all. Good Lord. I was just moderately impressed with him last season. He's got another year of experience under his belt. Is Roko not on this roster? Hold on. He is. He's like at the end of the first round. He's a little bit of a positionless player. He's 6'8", but can't really shoot that well. But he's a young player. He's a really good defender. He's a smart player, and I think he has the talent to be a starting caliber player on a championship team. He's a little older. He's got 1 more year of experience under his belt in Croatia, right? Yeah, Croatia. And I think Roko Perkasin is the best upside player at this 7 spot. Of course, the Thunder always need to get more young players. You know what? You can't have enough young players. Moving on to what team are we on now? I already forgot. The Pacers. Yikes. The Pacers. I mean, what do you want to say about them? They're going to be a good team, and they're always going to get hurt. Somebody's going to sit out the entire season. This time, TJ Warren again. Chris Duarte got hurt for a little bit. I mean, the team is good. You're playing with 2 bigs, though, with Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis at the same time. Just not really sure what direction you want to take with this team. Just once again, highest upside player at this pick. And I think you go with Patrick Baldwin Jr. here. He reminds you a little bit of Michael Porter Jr. He's got the chance to be a good player. TJ Warren struggling with that foot. I think you just say, you know what, Patrick Baldwin, let's see what you can give us. Now at number 9 for the Timberwolves, and I doubt that the Timberwolves are going to keep this pick. Again, everything's always changing. The records are changing. This is all fluid. This is a lottery, whatever you want to do. And I don't know really where to go with this. I haven't been vastly impressed, but of course the Timberwolves need a wing player, so I say Kendall Brown is a good player to fall to this spot. Again, the roster that I'm using is trash. Apparently, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I haven't made my own roster yet. Where are you, Kendall Brown? Bam. Kendall Brown out of Baylor, just a versatile wing. He'll give it to you on both sides of the court. They already have their point guard. They already have their shooting guard. They already have their center. Hypothetically, Malik Beasley can be the 3 or Anthony Edwards, whatever position you want to flip. So they just need another wing player, a 3-4 kind of guy. And I think Kendall Brown is that fit. Now on to number 9 with the Toronto Raptors. And I think right around here, it's the Toronto Raptors, right? Not crazy? Yeah, it is. I think right here is where you pick up your point guard. And while I wasn't impressed with what Ty Washington gave you so far at this early point into the season, Goran Dragic is going to be gone. I don't even know if he's playing or if he plays more than like 2 minutes a night. Fred VanVleet, I love the player. He's just an undersized scorer. He's another one of those Cole Anthony, CJ McCollum guys, 6 feet tall but can shoot the lights out. Not much of a distributor. I think Ty Washington is going to fit along here. Pair him alongside Scotty Barnes. You have your bigs and Precious Achua, OG Anunoby. You got a lot of talent here. You're just missing a 1. Let's pick up Ty Washington. Moving on to finally the number 10 spot, the Portland Trailblazers. At this point, of course, you know, a win here or there is going to bump them up the rankings. What do the Trailblazers do? Who knows? Just take the best player available. And I've got Nikola Jovic here, the big man out of Serbia. Wondering what he's able to give you. Wondering, there's no direction right now for the Trailblazers. It's Damian Lillard, sometimes CJ McCollum. You know, Yusuf Nurkic is a nice player, and that's really about it. But this is going to be my mock draft, my way too early mock draft, top 10 picks in the NBA because I haven't seen enough. There's just not enough footage out there for all these guys to really give them a solid grade. Plus, they're going to continue to grow and develop for the next, 8 months? The NBA draft is until next May. So this is my way too early 2021 mock draft. Right now, I've got Paolo Banchero as the best player coming out, just slightly ahead of Chet Holmgren. Of course, Jaden Ivy, Jabari Smith, Jaden Hardy, and Jalen Duren in that like tier 2 of players. And then after that, Rocco Percassin, Patrick Baldwin, Kendall Brown, Ty Washington. Going to be a very fluid spot after about pick 7. So let me know what you think, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I'll catch you in the next one.